And let's continue. So in our next section, we will discuss in some greater level of details different kinds of cyber threats. I believe we discussed what do we mean by vulnerability, and vulnerability in general is the way that will avail or make it possible for threat actor to deliver different kind of threats, different kind of malware to my system. So the first type of cyber threats is the malware. And I believe, as we discussed in the beginning of this class, that malware is a short name for a malicious software. And by concatenating the mal and where, we have the new term, which is the malware. And in fact, we have a lot of types of malware. The most common type of malware is the virus. And the key feature about virus is that virus is a program that when it execute, it can replicate itself, modify other program computers, inserting itself inside the code, and the ultimate goal for the virus is to cause harm to your computer. The virus can do a kind of spying on your own data, do a kind of downloading a malicious code after being installed on your system, tracking your activity, could be responsible on leaking data, such as a virus that has a sole purpose to check for sensitive data on your laptop or on your company network, such as credit card numbers if are stored in unencrypted form, data about customers, trade secrets, and business documents, and then grab all of this data and then upload it to a certain destination. This is an example for what virus can do, because at the end it is a program and we have the ability to modify the program and make it work in the way that we want to do. The second type of malware is the Trojan horse or backdoor. Trojan horse, as the name implies, it got its name from the Trojan horse, which was one of the Greek myths, which was related to a city called Troy. And in order to capture this city, the attacking army creating a statue that present a horse, and this horse was like a holy creature in this city, and they inside this horse they placed the soldiers, and once the people of Troy received this reward or make this Trojan enter their city, this the attacking army or a team or a legion from the Greek army get outside from this Trojan horse and started to ruin the city and attack the city. So Trojan horse work in the same concept. It is a virus that could look in a legitimate way, but in reality it has a malicious purpose. For example, we are all know about cracks, which are tools that can be used to activate software in illegal way. We can use cracks to activate games, activate Windows system, activate applications. Are we all familiar with what do we mean by crack, software crack? Okay, in order to use Microsoft Office, for example, you need to purchase a license from Microsoft. But in some situations, people may not want to spend the money and they need to use a software without paying for it. So they may go to the internet and download a software that make this software available to be used without paying in return of using it. That's illegal. And the kind of software that can be used to activate a software or application such as Microsoft Word and be used without paying for it is called crack. Make sense right now? So why someone could create a crack that allow you to use product in a free way? Only for charity? Of course not. Most of crack softwares or crack tools are usually a Trojan horses. They come to you in a form that they will provide you with a specific service to activate Office, for example. But on other hand, it come also with a malicious software injected inside it. And this malicious software will cause harm to your system. So yes, it will activate the Office product, but at the same time, it will use or it can introduce a ransomware to your device, can take control on your device to be participated on a denial of service attack on a different website or something like this. Clear about Trojan horse? Okay, one term that I mentioned in the description of Trojan horse is that Trojan horse can simply activate the service for you. So it did the action that you wanted to download this Trojan horse for. You don't know if it is a Trojan horse from the beginning. Yes, you are not sure if this is a Trojan horse, but at the end you requested for a crack to activate the Windows and it did the task. But in the background, it did another task like injecting a virus to your system. One of the reasons for using a virus or using backdoor by this way is to allow the hacker to control your device, to use your device as one of the army, consider it like this, to conduct denial of service attack or distributed denial of service attack. Look, the virus can have intention to harm your device. True. But in most situations, virus does not want to harm you yourself or does not want to harm your device itself. In reality, hackers or crackers or state-sponsored threat actors aim to infect as much devices over the internet as possible. Let's say billions of devices across the globe to create a botnet army. And botnet army is a huge number of compromised devices that could be compromised due to a crack that users of these devices installed it on their devices by their own willing. And these botnet or these controlled devices, which in other words called also a zombie army, will be used to initiate distributed denial of service attack. So hacker infect these devices by a virus, but this virus don't want to cause harm to the infected device itself. It only need to take control on this device, to use this device afterward in initiating a wider attack against a different target. Could be a governmental website, a huge bank website, a website that hackers need to conduct an attack on to cause unavailability of this system. Make sense to you? Okay. What do we mean by DOS attack or denial of service? As name implies, denial of service means the system will become out or not available. How to make system unavailable? Okay, the question is, what do we mean by denial of service? We have the answer that system will be not available, right? How to make the system unavailable? Give me, that's right. So here we have a very interesting term, which is excessive numbers of users. So what does the excessive number of users target? Just think about it. I will just be here in a minute, okay? Think about it, try to discuss it, and let's continue after that. So I'm back again. So yes, please continue. That's right. Mhm. And we target, or we know that this front end has a parameter such as maximum number of sessions, for example. So when the sessions reach 100,000, for example, the application will stop receiving additional requests. So by sending 100,000 or million requests to this website, for example, we will cause the session to be completely utilized. And in this case, we will cause the server to be out of service, right? What is another way to make denial of service? Any website in general is simply a server, a physical machine that is located in a data center, and it is connected to the internet using an internet connection. That's right. This internet connection could be 100 megabit, could be 1 gigabit, could be 100 gigabit. So one of the way to conduct those attack or denial of service is to or send a lot of requests that utilize or make this 100 gigabit or 1 gigabit or 100 megabit, whatever the speed or the bandwidth of this link is, cause it to utilize the full bandwidth. And in this case, anybody or any user will try to open this website, we will not find adequate or enough bandwidth to use it or to serve the needed service. So in reality, we will have a lot of techniques to create the denial of service. But in denial of service only, when we see this term, that will mean I have a single threat actor who will send a million requests to a single website. As a result for this, the session management on this server will be filled, or if the maximum limit is 100 sessions, these 100 sessions will be utilized by a single user. That's why we could have a device called a firewall, and this device, which is firewall, can detect those attacks. He will see like we have a 100 request from a single IP address or a single user. That's look incorrect. Every user should send at maximum 2 requests, maximum. But if I found a single user is sending 100 requests, this could be look suspicious. Okay? That's why threat actors try to control as much devices as they can. So instead of initiating denial of service attack from a single device using 100 requests, they can simply send a command or send an instruction to the controlled devices to initiate distributed denial of service attack, which will essentially every part in this zombie army or in this botnet or robot network will send a single request. In this case, if I have a firewall to inspect this traffic, it will see nothing is going bad or nothing is wrong. I have a single request from single device. So I will accept this request, and that will cause the distributed denial of service attack. Okay? One other reasons for deploying a botnet is not only the ransomware attack, by the way, but also if you are all familiar with the blockchain or crypto mining, right? What do we mean by crypto mining, or what do we mean by the process of crypto mining? That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So crypto mining is using your PC resources, mainly GPU processor, but mainly the graphical process unit. And by using it, we try to solve algorithm problems, cache hashes to participate in the blockchain network. So hackers may not need to pay for the resource usage, but at the same time, they need to generate money from blockchain mining and generate cryptocurrency and so on. So they may create a Trojan, and this Trojan will inject on billions of devices across the globe a piece of code. And this piece of code will utilize the infected device resources to participate in the crypto mining process. This type of virus is called cryptojacking. Cryptojacking is another way or another type of malware that make use of your computer resources while you are not aware about that your resources is being used in creating crypto currency. Hackers, of course, or the one who created this cryptojacking software will take the benefit from your resources while you are not aware about that your device is participating in cryptocurrency usage. Okay? So this is also another type of virus or another type of something that can be injected by the Trojan horse or backdoor. Backdoor also can help hackers to gain access to the system whenever needed, which means you can download a crack, but this crack will not install a virus on your system. But instead, it will leave the door open to the hacker in order to gain access to your system. Open your webcam, listen to what you are saying on the mic, and all of this stuff. Keylogger is another type of malware that can be also introduced to your system by a backdoor or a Trojan. And the keylogger is a type of a surveillance that record all keystrokes that you are writing on the keyboard. And whatever data you are typing on your keyboard, such as passwords, credit card numbers, and even your chat messages between you and your friends, the keylogger virus will be able to capture it and send it to the hacker device. Spyware is another type of malware, and it is also can be categorized as a keylogger. In fact, keylogger can be one of the features of the spyware. Spyware can be able to intercept your camera streaming, can be able to open your camera, open your mic, record the keystrokes, steal passwords, and other valuable data from your device. Ransomware is another type of malware, and this malware make your or do a kind of locking down of all your systems. And in order to unlock these files, you will need to pay a ransom to restore this data back. However, it is not confirmed that when you pay the ransom, you will restore your data back. In reality, when you pay the ransom, you could be a good victim, or in these cases, you will appear like someone who is willing to pay money to gain his information. So you can be subject to another type of attacks or blackmailing after then by the data that you just decrypted or encrypted by the hacker, because you will not have a guarantee that hacker, when he export or encrypt the data, he will not take a copy from this data, or he will provide a real key to decrypt the data. So ransomware's solution is not to pay the ransom, but to take proactive measures from the beginning by taking regular backup. And this backup should not be online backup, which means the backup media should not be a USB drive that is always attached to your own PC or your own device. The backup media should be disconnected and connected only when you need to restore or backup your data, by giving user awareness, by doing a background check on your employees, by having a controls such as disable USB access for end users to ensure nobody will bring a unknown USB drive and attach it to your device or your organization device. We have also rootkit, and rootkit is a virus that cloaks itself by replacing system files that can reveal its presence. And rootkit means that, for example, you download an operating system from a known website, let's say a cracked operating system, and in this operating system, the virus is already in place, which means virus come as part of the system. And rootkit is very hard to be detected and very hard to be removed, because in reality, when you install an operating system. All of these locations include the Windows system files, such as the DLLs, System32 components, Windows files that are essential to make Windows work. And on top of this Windows, you start installing your application, such as Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and the antivirus agent. The antivirus agent has the ability to inspect and scan all applications in this layer, as well as any data will be placed on top of these layers. But in the case of rootkit already in the layer of OS itself. So antivirus solution does not have the capability to check for system files itself to ensure it is okay. And in the system files, we will find the rootkit exists. That's why rootkit is very hard to be detected. So in order to detect rootkit, we can detect rootkit by the, for example, suspectable connections that made by this system to the internet. Can you get my point here? Okay, we are now understand what does we mean by the rootkit, right? Or what does rootkit mean? Rootkit is a kind of virus, but it is in the system layer. So antivirus solutions that are installed on a specific a specific server will not have the capability to inspect the system layer. So what do you think, or how we can detect the existence of a rootkit on one of our systems? Okay, we cannot check or we cannot detect it by the host-based antivirus, right? Because antivirus will not be able to check the system layer. But this rootkit could have a malicious intention, such as he will go and will try to open the internet to download a malicious code or a malicious virus, or make a connection with the hacker server to check if there is any commands or any instructions to do. Is that correct? Yeah, IBS, IDS firewalls to detect the presence of this malware or to detect if we have a rootkit in our network. Okay. So we have also another type of malware, which is worm, and worm is replicating itself, and it is replicating itself from computer to another. To give you an example for a worm, when we had a ransomware attack in the organization, we will find that all devices are encrypted one by one or one after one, right? This is an example for the worm. So ransomware code, which logs the files, attach itself to a worm code. This worm code has the capability to replicate itself to a lot of copies and distribute itself to other computers remotely. Okay, and as worm are automatically replicating itself, we will get a high chance to infect as many devices as we can. So isolation may not be an option in case we have a worm attack, because worm has the capability to auto attach itself or to auto send itself to other devices inside the same network. So essentially in a WannaCry attack, for example, we had the Windows Exchange server impacted or infected by ransomware that delivered from the internet, and then the worm on Exchange server will start to create a lot of copies for itself, and then will start to scan the entire network and send this worm to all devices inside the network. Then each device got infected will do the same. Will create a replica from this worm, including the ransomware code, and then will scan the network that it was at, and then send this replica to other devices inside the same network. Until we reach a certain point that IT security team will be aware about this attack. So they can simply create a firewall policy that restricts different VLANs from communicating with each other. But until we make this isolation, the spread of the ransomware will take a lot of devices along the way, because we in worm attacks we have a high speed in replication and a high speed in duplicating the ransomware code. Cool. Yeah. Look, to make it more comprehensive details, in reality and in attacks, when we study virus, worm, Trojan, all of this in essentially is just terms, right? But in real attacks, we may find a ransomware that has a criteria or has properties from a worm. We don't find a worm itself alone and ransomware itself alone. Ransomware, by function, is a program that encrypt what? Files only. But to make it spread quickly, we may introduce to the code that do the encryption the capability to replicate itself. So we may find the ransomware and worm are essentially the same type of virus. Virus at the end is a program that do a malicious intention. That could be encryption, for example. So we are just discussing the general term, but in reality, from my perspective, all of these are viruses, because virus at the end is a malicious software that has a programmed instructions. But virus does not necessarily has the objective to encrypt data. The ransomware do, but ransomware is a virus. Can you understand the relation? I know it's kind, but in reality, we don't see ransomware alone, worm alone. We can see a worm that includes function of ransomware or the vice versa. Adware, in another hand, when you deploy or install a free software, you can get like a warning message that your computer is at risk. Purchase this antivirus or something like this. So adware is like advertising software that is installed on your device without your consent or without your awareness, and it can monitor your activity, advertise products to you, and you need to remove it from your device because it does that in a spamming way. Fine. So let's make sure we understand what is the difference. What is the type of malware that can replicate itself using network vulnerabilities? Auto-replicating itself to distribute more and more. That's right. Worm is the right answer. Allow someone to access your resources remotely. Making the door open for the hacker to go backdoor or Trojan. Attach to system files. Once it infects your device, it will attach itself to your system files. Just attach. Virus. It can be detected by behavioral changes on a system. The Windows system should work in a way, but we mentioned or monitored that there is a suspicious activities that is happened on the system or suspicious communications that are being initiated from this system from time to time. G, rootkit. That's right. So are we all keeping up in this information? Is there anything is not clear? Okay. So what about the malware that generate ads on a spam way or in a spammy way on system? Yeah. So that's right. The adware is what does this. Require you to pay for a fee to restore your data back or unlock your data. What type of malware that has the capability of encrypting the data and require you to pay a ransom to restore this data back? Yeah, ransomware is the answer. Monitor the computer activity, such as keystrokes, what I am writing on the screen, take screenshots from my device, checking what are the running processes, record my webcam, and send it to hacker server or a centralized server that collects the data. Correct. So that is the spyware. So how to protect ourselves against spyware and malware and all of this stuff? First, implementing user awareness program. The first, or when we look to any security program in the organization, we can find a lot of levels to do the control. We have like technical requirements, physical requirements, users or awareness requirements, organizational requirements, and so on. So technical requirements can be antivirus. Physical requirements can be by disable USB access to the server, for example, keep servers in isolated and secure locations so nobody can access to this location and steal the hard drive or inject or place a malicious software that come on CD or floppy disk or something like this. We need to keep users aware about security controls and why protection against anti-malware or protection against viruses is important and what could be the impact of a malware when it reaches our environment. And also regarding organizational control, we need to ensure we have policies, procedures, disciplinary action in case someone violated the policy. So all of this could be the chain of how to implement a security program. The weakest link in this chain is the user aspect. Users are often looked at the most weakest link in the security chain. That's why user awareness is very important. We need to make users aware about what are the viruses and all of this sort of stuff. We need to control users' permission. The least we give user privilege, the most we can get an assurance that if the device of these users got infected, we will not ruin the whole of data. Which means if I have a laptop and this laptop I have a login users, this user is downloading a malware or a crack from the internet. As this user does not have administrator or does not have administrator privilege on this device, this user will not be able to install this patch or install this crack. That's correct? But if this user has administrator activity, in this case, he could install this crack and could introduce a high risk to my organization. So by controlling user permission, I could have a proper control here, which can help us against malware protection. Updating antivirus and the anti-spyware, and in some cases we can find the single endpoint control or the antivirus software has the capability of anti-spyware as well. Do regular scanning for the system by doing a weekly basis scan, by scanning new media before we can execute files on from this media to ensure no virus on this media. What do we mean by media, by the way, is something such as USB drive, external drive, and CD-ROM or CD or DVD drive. And by the way, you should not allow your users to access any external media unless authorized and unless permitted. You should have a controls such as group policy to control who can access external media. You need to install and have a firewall in your environment. You need to monitor network activity, and we mentioned why monitoring network activity can be a good option because it can help us detecting the rootkit presence, for example, or spyware. We need to verify file integrity. And why we need to verify file integrity? Because we mentioned earlier, virus attach itself to system files. So by attaching virus to a system file, that will change the file. And we can evaluate if file got changed or not by verifying file integrity. So can anybody here tells me more about what do we mean by verify file integrity? Okay, it is the same way, but the process here in review not performed by someone, but it is in fact performed by a tool. Let me give you an example. We have, as per the PCI DSS requirements, for example, we have a requirement to have a file integrity monitoring tool in the organization, or FIM solution. I will write it on the screen just to make it clear to you. It is called File Integrity Monitoring, or in other words, FIM. What does the FIM do? Assuming that here we are talking about a file, or talking about a system file. So this file, which include the keyword A, or include, just excuse me. So again, this file, which has the word, for example, A, written on this file, is a system file. And by default, system files should not be changed. Fine. So what the FIM tool do in reality is, FIM tool do a periodic scanning on all system files to generate and record what is the hash of this file. The hash is something like this. So hash is like a random value that created based on a specific algorithm to take or record the signature of a specific file. This signature should not be changed unless someone maliciously or authorizedly changed data inside this file. So just recall the signature of the file that includes the keyword A and with FD, right? So on weekly basis, the FIM tool, or the file integrity monitoring tool, is doing this scan. It scan, or it check all system files in the system 32 directory, for example, and generate hash values for each one of these files and record it in a database. So in the next week, the FIM tool will do the scan once again, and it will generate the hash once again, but all of this is an automated way, and we'll see the hash is still end with FD. Of course, it evaluates the full length of the hash. Okay, so it will see the hash value is still the same, so that means the file is not tampered or not changed, correct? So in the next week, virus introduced to the network, so it opened the system files, and we are talking here about the code program DLLs, and let's assume it add a single space inside this file, and after then we saved this file. The next time when the file integrity monitoring will run, will calculate the hash, and it will detect that the hash value changed from FD at the end to become 5A. That will indicate that there is a kind of a change happened to a system file that should not be changed. And by going back for the reason of this change, we will find that there was no security update issued by the vendor during the past week. So that change is not caused by a security update or a patch. This could be an indicator that something wrong happened. That's why verifying file integrity is important. And by the way, hashing is one of the way to achieve you remember the CIA? Confidentiality, integrity, availability? Hashing, it can be used to achieve the integrity part by ensuring system files are clean, not tampered, not changed unless authorized, by calculating hash values from time to time and evaluate it. So verification of file integrity, hardening the system by removing not necessarily services and remove it, perform intrusion tests like contracting with one from the ethical hacking team or penetration tester or white hat, which we mentioned, and try to penetrate my system to check if my system is well secured against the malware. Because remember, at the end, malware can be delivered through email, through existence of a specific vulnerability. So the hacker can get the exploit to instruct the system to download a malware. You remember the relation between vulnerability and malware and all of this stuff? Yeah, in systems also we create like a baseline image or a golden image. So I believe when we install a new or a Windows to a new client, or in case we are using virtual desktop environment for example, we have like a Windows image that was configured properly, has the required software, and whenever anybody need to reinstall the system, we does not install the system from the beginning. We deploy this baseline image, which include all required security configurations by the company. We can use software such as System Center Configuration Manager if we are dealing with Microsoft, for example, to deploy the golden image. Implementing physical security, restricting access to physical or USB drive, or creating a lock or installing a lock on the workstation to ensure nobody will be able to deassemble and steal the hard drive or add a piece of memory inside the motherboard. Establishing policies that promote the need for security awareness and give users warning to tell them that you should not install unapproved software or use cracks or use torrent websites, scan any communication that is incoming to the device. For example, when we were mentioning that malicious actor can scan a system and found it vulnerable, so he will send like an attack. And if I am doing a scanning for this traffic, I could realize that this is an attack, so I can block it. One of the devices that can be used to secure incoming communications could be the firewall, and also could be the intrusion prevention system or the IPS. Fine. So I believe we are about to conclude our day today, but before ending, we need to discuss some questions. So let's see this question and try to give me your possible answer. Yeah, it should be one of five. Yeah. So which one? One and five. So worm replicate through file system, but in reality, worm is not replicating through file system. Worm replicates through network related process. What is replicated through file system is the virus, which is attaching itself to file system. While the worm or network worm, by the way, worm is known as network worm. So the worm, it is replicating itself through multiple devices. For five, it does not require human intervention. Once worm reach the system, it will automatically replicate itself. But for virus, the situation is different. I believe I missed this point while explanation. In virus, the virus is only impacting the device who downloaded the software. And after then, the virus will try to attach itself to any file on this device. When I send one of these affected files to another one through the email, I will send this email with attachment, and inside this attachment, the virus could be existed. Yeah, it should be two only, mainly, and two and four, and yes, two and four, and I believe I missed to mark this one. So that's right. So I believe we can end here today or stop here as we are today. Okay. So tomorrow we, as you know, the information is a lot. So tomorrow we will continue in our day one topics, which are mainly security controls, policy, risk management, and network overview. And this will could complement the next or the tomorrow topics, which are related to cryptography and security architecture. So see you tomorrow, and I hope you are enjoyed, and I hope the information was clear. Do not hesitate to ask if you have any other question. I believe we still have like 3 minutes. So does anybody have any question?